two. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fabulous with Fabio, the talk show that reviews fabulous people and what they have done to become so great. So here today, we're going to talk about resilience, overcoming obstacles, and becoming a better person. My guest today is fabulous. It's Janet Perez-Eccles. So tune up and be very attentive because we're going to be talking about very serious things that will help make your life better and better, and you will be a better and better human being. So welcome, Janet. How are you today?
Thank you, Fabulous. Wow, what energy you have. It's contagious, Mr. Fabulous.
Because I know I'm talking to fabulous people, so my energy goes up naturally. There's no extra effort, it's just how it is. And you know what, guys, pay attention because this interview is live and raw as life is. There's no editing, no post-production. I only invite to the show guests that I know can handle the situation. So the real deal is here. There's no fluff, there's no facade. It's real people talking to you about how they became these amazing human beings so we can be inspired and, of course, take action on this. So, Janet, I'm going to start asking you, please, to talk to me about your story, about the main things. But let's start little by little. So, first, identify to me, please, what is like the main value you have in your life? You know, the main thing that, I don't know, the stone that will really, it's your support. What is the main value you have?
Great question. I wish more people would ask me that. My value is always, and I mean always, maintain an attitude of gratitude. I think that's my secret, always being grateful. And I think your listeners will understand what I'm talking about, why that's important for me. So, yes, every morning I wake up grateful for each day.
Amazing. So gratitude is one of the most important. I don't know if we can call feelings or thoughts or whatever, but it's a way of thinking, right? It's a way of living. Gratitude is what really sets the foundation for happiness. So I'm really happy you touched that point. So let's go now to the second and the third. I want to know three main values you have. So the first one is gratitude. What are the other two?
I think the second one is courage.
Great,
And
courage.
the third one is perseverance.
Mm. So
Yes.
gratitude, courage, and perseverance. So tell us about your story and how come those values became so important to you.
Okay, let's talk about gratitude. Ready? Now, this is going to sound really strange for all of you, but when I was 30 years old, I woke up one morning, I sat in bed, and I couldn't move. I was terrified,
Mm.
terrified of life. Let me tell you why. Months prior, I was diagnosed with a disease of the retina. And they said I would lose my sight, and I didn't believe it. I thought, no, not me. I have three little boys. My life is ahead of me. Losing my sight, going blind, that wouldn't happen. So I went to all kinds of specialists, herbal healers, but no one could give me any hope. And that morning, when I sat in bed, I had woken up, looked around, blinked, and that little bit of vision that I had left closing completely. I was horrified because that meant the rest of my life I would be living in darkness. See, that wasn't in my plans. Neither was the fact that my husband couldn't take it. And he came home one day and said he found somebody else. So there I was, 30 years old, a mom to three little boys who needed me, blind forever.
Oh my God. How old were your boys at that time?
They were 3, 5, and 7.
Oh my God.
I could
Wow.
hear them in the kitchen, waiting for me to come downstairs and fix them breakfast. And I thought, I'll never be able to see their faces again. I'll never be able to see a sunset. Why me? Why now? All of us have those emotions, right?
Mhm.
Whenever you feel like life is so unfair, so unexpectedly traumatic, and then what do you do? But that's when courage came in. If we're ready
Yeah.
for that type of attitude, and that is courage. But before courage, actually, I had to take one step back and recognize, Fabio, that
Mm.
my situation, though hopeless and horrifying as it was,
Mm.
I had to realize that even though I had blindness, blindness didn't have me.
Mhm.
And let
Yeah.
me tell you how I figured that out. A friend gave me a best-selling book, actually, still a bestseller. I put
Mm,
in a headset and I started to listen to it, and it's called the Bible.
mhm.
That's when I realized, you know what? I could spend my days thinking, oh my goodness, I don't have any sight. Or I could spend my days thinking, wait a minute, I can still hear, I can still talk, I can still walk, I can still love, and I can still have passion for life.
Yeah.
That's when gratitude began to just be sparked in me, thinking, I'm going to focus on what I do, having me grateful what I do and the things I can still do.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, so many people waste their time complaining about what they don't have, when
Mm.
gratitude is simply being grateful for what you do have.
Yeah.
That's so simple but so wise at the same time. I wish more people could really pay attention to this and live this feeling, right?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I taught my little boys that. I used to say to them, okay, stop what you're doing, Jason. Give me a G. And they knew what it meant. They had to right away think of something they're grateful for. So I wanted them to grow up with that mentality. The life can be hard. It can be traumatic. It can be full of adversity, but there's always, always something to be grateful for. And as we go on with my story, blindness wasn't the worst tragedy. There were
Mm,
some things that were worse, but I also apply the same gratitude. So yeah, it's a good focus
yeah.
on what you still have. Mhm.
And courage also is one thing, a lot of people ask for courage when they're praying or they're right. I ask for courage, but actually, what God gives us is opportunities to exercise courage, to develop courage, right? So, courage is something we develop as a choice to face the problems and obstacles we have in front of us. So, you are a living proof that you know how to take situations and exercise your courage to face them. That is,
Actually, yes. And I had to learn the meaning of courage and how to apply it. I remember one afternoon, it was a summer day. My three little boys were outside playing, and all of a sudden I heard my youngest one, and I think it was 3.5 or 4 at the time. He came in the house screaming, and I picked him up and I felt his head and it was wet. And my 7-year-old said, Mommy, there's blood everywhere. Well, he hurt his head somehow, and I said, "Quick, go get me a towel." While I held my 3-year-old in my on my lap, and I remember I tried so hard to find the source of the wound. Where was he bleeding from? And I couldn't find it. And I thought to myself, I can't do this. This is just too hard to be a mom to these little guys, unable to see. But then I realized I'm all they have. I am their mom. I have to do whatever I need to do. And so I had to develop that courage, that boldness, that tenacity to say, it doesn't matter what I don't have. I still have the love for them, and God's going to help me to take care of them. And I did. And so courage to face not only being a mom to three little boys without sight, but also later on, fear of maybe going places by myself
mm,
alone. And that same courage took place when I began to speak some years later. So we can go into that if you want to. But yeah, courage had to be and still is very much part of my life.
yeah. So you've been through a lot. I don't know if you want to touch that again, but I know there's another tragedy in your life that is even harder to face than losing sight, right?
Yes, that's
Uh,
true.
I
Yeah.
don't know if you want to talk about this. If you want, maybe that will benefit the audience to change perspective because I know right now many people are complaining about traffic, complaining about some financial struggle, and they need to change perspective. They need to understand how a person like you was able to face those very, very tough moments in life. So if you feel like it, just share with.
Absolutely, Fabio. Yeah, and not just facing them, but learning to thrive in spite of them and learning to live that abundant life. Because your listeners right now, your viewers are not really thinking, well, I didn't go blind. What's that got to do with me? But I
Mhm.
think most of us face adversity unexpected in other areas when it
Mhm.
comes to our loved ones. It happened back in September 7th, 2002. My husband and I received a phone call late at night telling us that our youngest son, Joe, 19 at the time, was wounded. Now we couldn't figure out who could have wounded him. He was captain of the lacrosse team, captain of the football team at his school. He always attended his Bible study. But when they told us he was wounded, we couldn't figure out what could have happened to him. He was a leader in every way. So we rushed to the emergency room, and in that emergency room, doctors walked in and told us that our Joe had not survived the 23 stab wounds he had received.
Mm,
He was in the wrong place, the wrong time.
yeah.
And that is when I think my life could have just stopped and just
Mhm.
crumbled around me. But up to then, all that time, I had always been so conscious, so alert, and intentional about being grateful. But I
Mhm.
remember that day that I received those news that night, I held my breath, but I remember what I had been listening to, and I recognized that that pain was bigger than me,
Mm,
but it wasn't bigger than God. So I again sought strength from Him. I
mhm.
sought the peace that can come from Him. And again, gratitude came to be because I thought, I'm going to see Him again one day. Not
Mm,
only that, but I need to recognize what He was to me. He was a joy, He was a treasure for those 19 years. And
yeah.
those memories I hold, they will evoke the gratitude that I need. So
Mhm.
eventually, what I learned, Fabio, is that I could turn my sorrow for gratitude and live with the joy of having Him in my life, in our life for 19 years.
Yeah.
So, and then also going further with gratitude, that I can still speak to many audiences
Mhm.
about the power of resilience, of bouncing back, the power of gratitude. Wow, what a privilege, right? So, how can I not be grateful, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's the key, no matter how tough a situation is, if you believe in God, if you have faith, if you believe in your capacity to deal with that thing, you move forward and you find ways. It's painful, I know, and it's not a magical trick. You don't do it overnight. I know it was a process for you for sure, but we have the capacity to go through this kind of thing if we believe in something greater than ourselves, right? You just said the pain was bigger than you, but was not bigger than God. So
Absolutely.
this is beautiful. This is beautiful. So after you manage to deal with those situations, right? Those challenges in your life, you decided that you would do something about it to maybe inspire other people, to help people see this new perspective, right? So tell me about your mission in life now. What do you do? What is the, your goal? What is the difference you want to make? So tell me about your vision for your life and the mission you have on earth.
Okay. Well, that sparked a need in me to encourage others.
Hmm.
And when I would relate, I remember at the memorial service, I encouraged those young people to turn to God like my son had done and to change their lives because Joe didn't know his last days would have been last Friday. I told him that so you need to also change your focus and change your life. And when I finished, I remember people saying to me, I needed to hear that. I was complaining because, I didn't get a promotion at work, but I just needed to be able to know how to face life and face those traumatic episodes with happiness, with joy, and with peace. And that's when I began to write, Fabio. I began to write my first book. And I wrote it, I used a computer with a screen reader. So after I finished writing it, we decided, well, maybe one day our grandkids would want to read it and read my story.
Hmm.
But when we published it, it was quite different. I was getting letters from other countries, women saying that how they were inspired by my book. And that's how my writing career
Hmm.
began.
Okay.
And of course, reaching out to so many more people through my writing. Yeah.
Yeah, so you started by writing, putting your story on paper so you could reach people all over the world with your first book. What is the name of the first book?
The first book is called Trials of Today, Treasures for Tomorrow.
Okay, say that again, please.
Trials for Today, Treasures for Tomorrow.
Okay. Is it still available on Amazon or other places?
I think it is. Actually, I wrote that in 2004. I've written four other books since then.
Okay,
But I think that was my very first one. And it was really pretty much my story. And I've
perfect.
written others and just had one come out last year and it
Hmm.
won an award. So I'm really grateful to be able to have that venue to reach people, to encourage them, and to be able to help them see their life with their eyes of their heart, really, and see that there is a way to bounce back. And of course, the theme of my talks and my books is resilience. Yeah, how do you bounce back?
Yeah, yeah, and for those watching here, we will make sure all the links to her books and her website will be here in the description of the video, or in the comments, so you can find Janet, you can find her work, and you can get inspired by that. All
Yeah.
right. So now tell me about your career as a speaker. So I know you're a writer. You wrote 4 books already. Yeah, before, tell me the name of the other 3 books, Fleur. The
Okay.
second
The
book,
first,
well,
yeah, the first one is Trials of Today, Trials for Tomorrow. Trials of Today, Treasures for Tomorrow.
okay.
The second one is Simply Salsa. I teach you
Free
this.
salsa.
Yeah, Simply Salsa. I teach you
Okay.
the simplicity of finding joy even when adversity hits your life. The
Okay.
third one is Hola, Happiness. Yeah, it's a video series of work that people can do it like a study, like a Bible study. And the fourth one is Contagious Courage, your 30-day journey to overcoming stress and anxiety.
Perfect.
And my latest one is Now I See how God's amazing grace transforms the deepest pain to shining joy. And that book has done extremely well. Received 2 awards already, and it's touching a lot of people. And so that's pretty much the background and the resources I use to be able to craft my keynotes and my talks.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's imagine you are in front of a camera that is broadcasting to 7 billion people at once. All right. So 7 billion people is watching you right now. And you have one message to spread. You have one key message you want people to know, to learn, and you believe that that one message would make a difference in their lives. In less than 1 minute, how would you tell them, to everybody watching you, what would you say to them?
Okay. I would say the pain you're suffering today could either sink you or give you purpose. What if you chose today, no matter what you're facing, to put purpose to that pain, to that setback, to that adversity? Because it's that purpose that's going to make your life better, help you reach greater levels of success, and bring back the joy that you would never had you not experienced a setback and came back from it. So get purpose to your pain.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right. What if people are uh, fighting negative inner communication, right? Because we know inside our head, there's a war, right? There's
So
always negative thoughts fighting positive thoughts. And we know the side that wins the fight will determine our attitude, our
amen.
behavior, and
What
everything
you
else.
yep, what you feed will grow. I'm glad you asked that question because one of my talks I have a talk on neuroplasticity, meaning the frontal cortex of your brain is responsible for storing your thoughts and feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So I show a reservoir. That part of the brain really becomes a mental reservoir. You choose how you're going to build that reservoir. So I have two little containers. One is black, one is shiny.
Mm-hmm.
What thoughts are going to fill that mind of yours? Is it negative thoughts? For me, I can't. This is too much. I'm too stressed. I'm too overwhelmed. Yes, you'll be filling the mental reservoir with dark thoughts. And that's how your life will end up being. It will turn into the words that you say, the attitude that you have. But what if you chose to apply neuroplasticity and fill that frontal cortex with good thoughts, with positive thoughts, with edifying thoughts? And so when you do that, for example, with me, I get up in the morning, I don't think, oh, poor me, how am I going to find the bathroom? I can't see. I don't do that. I wake up in the morning and say, thank you, God, that today you're giving me one more opportunity to inspire somebody, to touch someone's life, to speak to a group who needs to know their life hasn't ended because of adversity.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is something inside of us called resilience, and it begins of how we fill our mind. And
Mm-hmm.
so it is so, so huge, like you just said. And with me, when I remember when I first started speaking, my first one came on, they wanted me to share my story. And I thought, oh yeah, I'll do that piece of cake. But then the invitations were in different parts of the country. Well, I'm gonna go. How can I travel by myself? You know, my husband was working because God healed our marriage, by the way. He came back. But even though I was, you know, we were together, he couldn't really travel with me because he was working. And I remember thinking, I have a choice. You know, I've not been given a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power, of love, and of a sound mind. With that sound mind, I could make decisions and have the wisdom to prepare. I called an airline, got my tickets, and told them to provide an escort for me when I arrived at my destination. And they would help me to the entrance of the airport. Whoever was in charge of the speaker would pick me up, take me to a hotel. And now, how would I stay by myself in a strange hotel in a strange city? Piece of cake again, because I would tell the person who brought me to the room, I said, would you come in for a minute? Could you be sure all the lights are off? And they said, are you sure? And I said, yes. I won't tell if they're on or off, but it's not good to sleep with your light on. So I said, okay. And then they leave. So I feel the room around, I get my bearings, I find where everything else, I unpack, put my makeup where it needs to be, call for a wake-up call, review the notes for my keynote for the next day, and fall asleep. And the next day I'm fresh and ready to go, putting on my own makeup and that. I'll tell you that story because, Fabio, so many times we're fearing the unknown.
Yeah.
See, to me, it was something that, what if there was no one there to pick me up? What if I take the wrong flight? What if I end up someplace? Or if there's an emergency and everybody's evacuating, where would I go? But, we can't fear the unknown. We have to control what we do know. And what we do know, all of us possess that power of resilience to overcome, to rise above adversity, and to be able to touch others in the process. So when I travel, you can imagine people say to me, they see me with a white cane, they say, excuse me, are you totally blind? No one to know. Because some people say, you can't tell I'm blind. What an opportunity for them to hear my story, for me to encourage them. So traveling to other countries by myself too, is just an amazing adventure. No more fear, courage, gratitude, and perseverance. We didn't touch on that one yet, though.
Yeah, well, you were touching just by example, perseverance is right there in everything you do and say, and but of course
Story about that.
we can explore more that beautiful world. Uh, I want to just highlight this that you just said, not be fearful for the unknown. Really, not everybody believe in God. I get that, but you got to believe in yourself, right? If you don't have faith in anything else, have faith in yourself, in your ability to do things, in your capacity to overcome obstacles. And you have proven over and over again that we are capable of doing much more than we believe sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So for those listening, believe in yourself above everything. I don't care about the religion thing, but believe in yourself. Believe that you were equipped with enough courage, resilience, and perseverance to go for it, to face the obstacles and live your life to the fullest.
And
So,
Fabio, that is so important to recognize that there's something within you that even allows you to do something impossible. Let me give you an example. A year after my Joe was killed, the man responsible for the murder was to be tried in a court of law. And that trial took 3 days, and it was the most horribly painful one because I had to listen to the medical forensic describe each of those 23 stab wounds he had received. But I knew that we had to see justice be served. The man had to be punished for what he had done. He had only suffered a scratch on his cheek and went home. He had to suffer the consequences of such a crime, right? So at the end of the third day, the jury was ready with the verdict. They asked us to come in the courtroom. We stood up, I held my breath, and the verdict read, we find, us members of the jury, find the defendant not guilty of all counts.
oh my God.
We were stunned. The side of where the defendant and the family, everyone was cheering on our side, was just destroyed. I could not believe, even to this day, the judge and the attorneys can't believe such a verdict could have been rendered. What happened is that defense attorney built a case of self-defense, and the man pled self-defense and was set free. But that meant, Fabio, that we had to do something.
Yeah.
Take revenge? Never.
No.
Our other two sons wanted to do that. They were so angry. Nobody could believe it. But what I had to do is just recognize that doing something wrong to that person or trying to pursue vengeance wasn't the answer. What I
Mm.
wanted was peace. And you know when that peace finally came is when my husband and I chose to forgive the man who killed our son. We chose to forgive him genuinely and completely. That set us free from that prison that we could have been in, that prison of bitterness, anger, or resentment. We were once free. And see, right now, Fabio, maybe your listeners and your viewers are thinking, I can't forgive this or that. But see, that unforgiveness is what's holding you back from living the life, the abundant life that God meant for you to live. So in my effort to persevere, I
Mhm.
had to take the necessary steps, the steps that would set me free to
Mhm.
be able to fulfill my mission for life, and that is to inspire people, to
Yeah.
motivate them, and to let them see that no matter how painful injustice can be, that resilience within you is still alive. Tap into it, use it, and allow that to be the one thing that propels you to do something greater in life. So my life has been pretty good because of those gratitude, courage, and perseverance.
Yeah, when you said about, the frontal cortex of the brain and how we feel that with bitterness or positive thoughts, this is all related, right? Because if you cannot forgive, you never break free to really accomplish everything you can. Because all those negative thoughts of, revenge or bitterness will be contaminating your 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 brain, right? And you cannot think straight. You cannot really build dreams that are inundated by negative thoughts and feelings.
And you
So,
know, that's a really good point, Fabio. And let me tell you this, what you just said, this is an example of specifically that. I remember speaking to a huge corporation here in Orlando. If I told you the name, you'd recognize it right away. After I stepped off the stage, this executive came to me and he said, you know, I really don't go for these motivational talks, but what you just said reminded me of what I was missing. I was
mm,
holding so much inside, so much resentment. I won't share the details, he said,
mm,
but I wasn't free. So what happened, Fabi? Somebody with that level of success
mm,
and clout and reached that level of, leadership, there was something in him that was holding him back, and he wasn't free. He made all kinds of money, was making the company lots of money and profit, but inside of him there was something that needed to be freed. So what you just said, yes, if you don't have that within you to find that freedom, whether it's forgiveness, whether it's resilience or courage or gratitude or whatever it is that you need, the success you see could just be a band-aid or could be an outer accomplishment that covers what's inside of you. So when I speak, that is my target. Say what
mm,
is going on inside of you? What is really success? What is the meaning of success for you? And you'd
mm.
be surprised the answers I get.
Let me ask you this. You were giving me examples of what people tell you after you speak, right? So you help them see new things, you help them forgive themselves and forgive others, you help them break free from negative thoughts. I'm curious to know what they tell you before they hire you as the reason they hire you. What do they want from you when they, come to you? Oh, I want you as a speaker in my event. What do they tell you?
Okay, I'll give you an example. When I was hired to speak for a real estate association, it was a
Mhm,
banquet. There were a couple of real estate agents who had suffered pretty traumatic situations for them,
mhm,
not like mine, but different. And they just couldn't go beyond it. And
mhm,
what was happening is that the morale in that particular organization wasn't the way it should be. Why do they need somebody to lift them up in addition to those two real estate agents who were just being feeling defeated? Was that they needed to see that the sales techniques and the training affects their mental
mhm,
knowledge. and know-how and tools. But when they needed to implement those tools was being set free emotionally to see they could face stress, they could face obstacles, they could go beyond their limitations and impossibilities. They needed that type of strength to be able to implement the training they were receiving. And I said, okay, that's what I'm here for. And of course, at the end, they always say, I thought I was going through a lot. Now I have nothing to worry about, nothing to fear. Now I know how to be set free. Once you're free, success takes a new meaning. It's a profound stage of life that you say, you know what? I can be unstoppable. What joy and what freedom to be able to feel that way, right? So that's in essence, that's what they want me to do, is lift them up. So then we'll walk away and say, in fact, one of the testimonials said recently, she said, I heard you talk and I left knowing I can conquer the world. Wow. That's what we
Beautiful.
want. This is,
That's the kind of difference we want to make
yes.
as speakers, right? Or authors.
I don't tell them do this, do that. I show them. I'm a living proof. If I can do it, so can you. You can't let anything find that defeat you or bring you down or cause you that much stress. And right now, as you know, suicide is an all-time high. So is fear, anxiety, and depression. Why? Because life became too much. It doesn't have to be that way. And that's my job, to show them that it doesn't have to be that way.
That's your job. That's your
Yeah.
job, and I commend you for that. That's a privilege having you here, and giving my audience the chance to hear you know what you're saying. Um, it is so profound that I don't know how many hours we would need to cover all this, right? But let's try to, yeah, let's try to give them like, I don't know, if it is at all possible, what would be like a few action steps, people listening to you now could take in the right direction
Okay.
to build this gratitude, this courage, this resilience and persistence to go through life head held high and unstoppable.
Yes, absolutely. Funny you asked that question, Fabio, because just this morning I finished training thousands of interpreters for them to be able to, convey professionalism and, meet the standards of the company, which the company is the number one in the industry right now. And we need to have that high level of performance and professionalism and service. And I said to them, this is one thing you have to remember. If there's something you can't control, you can't allow it to affect you.
Mhm,
Remember the one person who you can control, and that is you. You
mhm,
control the reaction, you control the response, you control the attitude, and you control the words that you say. And it all begins in the thought you have. What
mhm,
fills your mind? So I always go back to the power of the mind, the power of the thoughts. What is it that your mental reservoir is being filled with?
yeah,
And so to me, it doesn't get more basic than that. Control what you can control, and that is you, right?
yeah.
So many times, and I could tell you stories of times that I traveled by myself to other countries. And one time, the person who was to pick me up didn't show up. And that could have been a little stressful because I couldn't use my cell phone. I didn't have international service. I couldn't see where I would be. So it could have been real stressful. But the reason it wasn't, let me tell you why. Because in my mind, I thought, I'm here for a purpose. I'm
Mhm,
going to speak at these conferences. I'm going to do the TV and radio interviews that I had planned to do. And I'm going to wait and see how this works out. What happened, Fabio, in me thinking that my mind was clear,
mhm,
my body was calm, and I could recall the phone number of the lady who was supposed to pick me up.
mhm.
I make a point of memorizing phone numbers because, my cell phone may not be handy. And of course, writing them on paper wouldn't work. I remember the phone number and I told the escort in the airline, said, dial this number for me. And Fabio, it was the right number. And I got
Wow.
the mind, the power of the mind, and the power of resilience in little things and in big things can be huge, right?
Yeah, amazing, amazing. I do a lot of sales training workshops to my clients, and I have found many years ago that techniques alone are not enough. You really have to combine the strategies and techniques with the right emotions, right? and the right emotions are right there, and you mentioned earlier not fearing, not being afraid of the unknown, right? The
Yeah.
most effective technique anyone in sales can use when talking to a client or a customer is accepting the unknown. So do not expect your customers to give you that answer or that other answer. Accept everything that comes your direction with open arms, and accept it, learn from it, and work with it. So being open, being courageous to accept the unknown and to work your mind around any obstacles or objections, as they say it, right? Be willing to listen, to learn from everybody around you, including your customers and including your problems, will
It,
build a stronger mind that is
yeah,
able to do anything.
absolutely, Bobby. And have you noticed that when we fear, we're fearing something that hasn't happened yet?
Yeah.
And that makes no sense, right?
Uh-huh.
Don't fear about, for example, for me traveling, what if, what if there's, they call a different gate and everybody takes off and I can't make it there and I don't know where it is. Am I going to fear something that hasn't happened? When you do that, that takes the joy of today, that
Yeah.
takes your concentration off. Instead of listening to that person in the sales, let's say, conversation, you're fearing, oh, what if they don't accept? Am I saying the right thing? Did I miss anything? You're fearing something that didn't really happen.
Yeah.
Instead, live that moment. And, be totally 100% in the moment. Give it all you got at that moment. And that means the ability to listen, really listen. And I teach interpreters, don't just listen to the words, listen what is not being said. What
Yeah.
is the tone telling you? That is huge, right?
Yes.
So unable to see gives me that advantage of you. I can really
Yeah, you
listen.
have that advantage. You probably are a better listener than most people around you.
I try to, absolutely. It's so important to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really amazing what we can do when we put our mind into the right direction, and that is, going forward. Even if it's not possible, some people say it's not possible to not feel fear, right?
Yes.
But in that situations, we know that fear sometimes is false evidence of something that never happened yet, and
Exactly.
of course that is I don't know, a sibling to anxiety or something.
Yep.
But I help people, fear can, if you cannot get rid of fear, transform fear into energy, right? Because fear is like tension, right? You are alert, you are more energized. So
Mhm.
use fear as FEAR, fabulous energy to achieve results,
Ooh, I like that. Fabulous
right?
energy to achieve results. Yeah,
Fabulous energy to achieve results. So use that energy that you're feeling to prepare more, right? To anticipate, to have a plan B, to really prepare yourself to be more energized to face any situation that comes up with energy.
that's so true because sometimes we face impossibilities, right? And the world says, oh, no, it can't be done. And that happened to me when I wanted to get my court certification as an interpreter. They
Mm,
said, well, we don't have it in Braille. And I said, that's okay, because I don't read Braille anyway. I'm one of those blind people, never learned it because I have a computer with a screen reader. I don't need to read Braille. And they said, well, I'm sorry, we can't give it. We've never done it before. You know, when she said that to me, Fabio, we've never done it before.
yeah,
That was my clue.
yeah,
Really? Just because it wasn't done before doesn't mean it can't be done. So I said, all I ask is you provide me someone who can read me, because there's 4 parts of the test. One of them is a sight translation, meaning you have to read a document, commit to mind what
uh,
it contained, and then give it into the target language. Well, I couldn't see the document, obviously, but I asked someone to read it to me. Then same thing with the multiple choice. And I committed to mind, what are those choices? Okay, these 2 are possibilities. So everything in my mind, because I wanted to prove that just because they said they couldn't be done or they've never done it before doesn't mean that I couldn't do it. Sure enough, I gave it all. I studied hard, and the material, they said, oh, we don't have the material in Braille. That's okay. Give it to me. I'll record it. I recorded and now listen and listen. I passed that test the first time, which is very difficult to pass. All that to say is when someone says, I don't think you can do that, I think that's impossible, that's your clue to bring up that tenacity inside of you, their faith, and that cancellation of any fear. Amazing the
Yeah.
results that you can
Yeah, I
get.
believe that impossible is the call for greatness.
Yes.
Every
Yeah.
time somebody says that's impossible, that's a call. Okay, so let's do it. So
Yeah,
you
exactly.
can innovate, you can break barriers, you can make something that looked impossible in the past, but now you were the one that led the way for something new to happen. So
And that's what happened in my industry. I was the first blind interpreter they hired back in 1991. And since then, they've hired others because I proved to them. And sometimes management forgets that I'm blind and they send me all this material and they ask me to create material for training. I never said, oh, well, excuse me, but I'm sorry, did you forget I'm blind? I never say that. It's like, absolute. I have no idea how I'm going to do it, but I know I can do it. So I was the first blind court interpreter in the state of Florida. And I was the first one, a blind person, to do the work that I do in my industry. But you know what? My main, I guess, reward is that I opened the door for others. How beautiful if all of us can tackle something that may seem impossible, you're successful and you open doors to help others. There's
mhm.
nothing better than that, right?
That's right. That's right. Janet, it's been a pleasure. I would like to help our audience to reach out to you. What are the main channels for them to reach out to you to get to know your work? If you want to explore a little bit more what kind of work you do for what kind of industries, that's the space now. So, people that are listening to us, probably they're going to be eager. Okay, I want to know more about Janet. I want to know how she can help us. So tell us a little bit, the industry you serve, uh, what are the ways you serve, and how they can reach out to you.
Absolutely. Yes. My passion has always been to speak to different kinds of groups. And I've spoken to a lot of faith-based groups, retreats, women's conferences, and also business professionals. And they bring me in either for keynotes or workshops for me to be able to lift them up, to be able to encourage them in such a way that they can see that they don't have any limitations, to prove that limitations don't have to be excuses, and that impossibilities can be the path for them to reach greater heights, not only for themselves, but for the organization. And also for them to be able to see that adversity can be the best teacher. They say greater is he who fell and got up again than the one who never fell, right? So learn from my failures, from my trauma, from my adversity, but let me show you the power of everyday resilience. And I think that talk is mostly, for those who want to really kick off their event, their yearly conference, let's say, and kick it off with an open heart. So my keynote basically becomes the further soil for them to be able to receive whatever they're going to be taught and trained on, whatever tools they're going to receive. They already have that heart, that open mind, that power of resilience ignited in them. And so that's my passion. And also I speak to college and universities to
Mm.
equip these students. Say, yes, you have your certificate. Now what? Let me tell you what life can throw at you, and let me show you how you can win. You can be a champion, and you can rise above anything life throws at you. This is how you do it. So I do that with college students as well. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah. I
And
can
now
see
where they can reach
myself.
me. Well,
I can go ahead.
just wanted to real quick, you asked me how they can reach me.
Yeah.
Well, maybe some of your audience is feeling a little stressed or anxious, maybe. And that's the case. They have a free gift. My third book, or actually the third book, titled Contagious Courage, Your 30-Day Journey to Overcoming Stress and Anxiety, is free to them if they just visit my website. And I think you have the link in the notes, maybe. Just
Yeah.
go there, your pop-up window will, you can click there, give you email, and you'll have that book to help you conquer that stress and anxiety.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Her website, guys, I'm going to put on in the comments and in the description of the video on YouTube. But if you want to take notes, it's Janet Perez-Eccles. Eccles, is JanetPerezCles.com. So
That's right. Janet
Perez
Perez.
Eccles.
And Eccles is like freckles without the FR.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. I can see myself sharing the stage with you in sales conventions and motivational events because, I can give them the strategies and techniques and the energy, and you can give this inspiring example of how to live your life with gratitude, courage, and persistence, perseverance.
Fabio, a match made in heaven, I say. be great. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you
Well,
know, one thing I forgot to mention,
mm,
I love, 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 love to make my audiences laugh. I have stories about the stuff that happens to me that pretty hilarious. Yep.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Humor is the best medicine for the heart, right? So
Senator, yes, 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 yes. Laughter is so important. So my audiences usually laugh. Sometimes they share a little tear, but at
yeah.
the end, they are empowered to conquer the world, to receive Fabio's teachings and tools, right?
Okay. Guys, this is Fabulous with Fabio. My guest today is Janet Perez-Eccles, this amazing woman who has overcome immense obstacles and with a smile on her face, with gratitude, courage, and perseverance. I hope you listened very carefully to what she said. Go back, rewind, watch it again, listen again. You're going to learn important life lessons that will help you become unstoppable. And if you want to know more about Fabulous with Fabio, you can go to fabulouswithfabio.com or fabiomarquescompany.com and go to talk show and you know more about this fabulous talk show. If you think you can add value to somebody, maybe you can be my guest. So go there, you're going to find a way to register, to apply to be a guest on my show, and maybe you can do what Janet just did, inspire people to be better. Janet, once again, thank you so much for being my guest today. I'm super proud of having you in my show. I feel blessed. I feel really special today because of your presence.
Thank you, Fabio. Wow. What joy to know that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So, guys, remember how to get in contact with Janet. You're gonna see here in the comments. You're gonna see here in the description of the video. And if you took notes, it's janetperezeccles.com. All right. You can reach out to me. I'll give you all her contact information if you need to. Don't worry. All right. See you guys soon. Until the next Fabulous with Fabio. Talk to you soon.